Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Potty Mouth Garden Club. Yes, we are here again, once again, for another fun-filled gardening trip. So, little few things there. If we can, if you want a question answered, we've now got a new system where if you put the capital Q in the comments before your question, then I can find it a lot easier. So, yes, do that, capital Q, and I can find it. Pop over to the comments and say hello, and we'll see who's in there as well. Another little bit of housekeeping is we aren't here at all next week. No, I'm going on my happy holidays, and we're going to have a little break from the pressure of live TV. That's what we're going to have. So yes, let's bring them in. How are you doing, everyone? Hey, hey. Hello. So yes, we've got a fun show. And I am actually going on night shift as well tonight as well. So, but I'll try to get as much beauty sleep as you can tell. I've had enough beauty sleep to keep us going for years. So we'll run the intro and we'll see you soon. Yes, so we're back again, and we'll put the crowd on there. I'll tell you what, we're bringing the old boy there, see how he's doing. Stephen, always a pleasure. Never a chore. How are you doing? 14 degrees. 14 degrees in Cockermouth. We were talking before you kind of came on that it's up and down. You're all over the place, and it's knocking your gardening.
It is a bit. I did mention that my cabbages, really, I should be harvesting them now, but some of them aren't even hearting up yet. It's ridiculous. Everything is way behind.
Can I just show you? Can I just show you something, Stephen?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, look at that! Oh, man, cauliflowers as well, man. Oops, that's the kid. Oh. Daisy's not there. So, imagine if there was someone like my son lying there or something, just kind of chilling. So, you know what it is? I took your lead because you mentioned a while ago about, and I thought it was a bit early, planting cauliflowers. And I went, you know what, I'm going to do mine now. Because normally I was a bit later, but they always run to kind of seed and, like fail. But I did it when you said, on one of the shows, this week I'm gonna plant cauliflowers, and I went, you know what, I'll give it a go. Every one of them cauliflowers has got a. I mean, that one was them two were kind of say that size head, but we're away next week, so I'm going to miss the full thing. But the cabbages are hearting up. What are you doing wrong?
I'm doing nothing. You can see it. It's up here. Oh, where is it? Just up here somewhere.
40.
Up here.
So do you think it's a lot to do with the weather? Is it just you're fighting all the time?
Definitely. Somebody in one of my comments to my video said that we're having a slow year, also a Cumbrian, and they've noticed, and I thought, I hadn't really thought about it. I just thought it was me behind, which I am a little bit myself. I am a little bit behind where I should be at this time of year. But, the weather's just not been as good. And while the rest of the country's been baking, we've been under cloud. We have had some sunny days, but nothing consistent. And then look at that temperature. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny because when I kind of start this up and I'm playing around, I'm 17 there now. What's JB? Hello, JB. We'll come back to you, JB. But JB's 17, and we've got Audrey is 23. So. Stephen, it's like it's almost like I was just saying. It's like you struggle to germinate things at them cold temperatures, lad.
Yeah, it's dodgy, and if it drops too much at night as well, then the tomatoes, which are all doing okay at the minute, they'll take a knock as well. And that's the stuff in the polytunnels is about the only stuff that's really growing, apart from weeds. I've got tons of weeds. Oh, no. And of course, at the minute, with all the rain, I can't really get in to trim the weeds down. So they're taking over some of the beds at the minute. It's a bit of a nightmare.
It's funny, mind you, when you say that, because my polytunnels probably at the moment, we've had some cooking hot days, That's the one place where it's the Achilles heel. It's just red hot in there. And I'm doing the fertigation feed, and if I wasn't, I'm sure some of them would just knock. That I go in and the kind of leaves are curled. You can just tell, and I can't get any more like wind air through. It's just both doors are open. Right. You have to put that. You've got one of the polytunnel where you can put the side on and open. Yeah. That's what I would need to do. You know what I mean? That kind of to somehow manage that. But we've had some red hot days, enough to kind of just stay inside. Do you know what I mean? And it's nowhere near like the temperatures Audrey gets as well. But I must just be like not used to it. But Audrey, go on, Steve. Go on, yeah.
I was just going to say, I mean, you've joked with me for the last couple of years that it gets quite Baltic over here in the winter, and I've been quietly laughing to myself because the last few years we've had really mild winters. The summers have been brilliant, and I'm thinking I'm keeping this a secret because if people know the Lake District, the weather's nice, we'll get far too many tourists up here, and we won't be able to move. So I've just been laughing to myself. I think, fine, that's okay. You think that way if you want to. The weather's great. But this year, no, it's dire.
Right, bloody hell. Audrey, you've got a lovely balmy 23 at the moment. What time you got there, Audrey? Just because we are 7 o'clock.
We're just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. Well, that's a nice 23 is nice, isn't it? Nice just to kind of sit with a nice cool drink.
Well, if you're in the shade, if you're in the sun right now, it feels a lot hotter than 23.
Right. Yeah. Are you still, things still bolting? I hope.
Are things still holding?
Bolting.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That's actually going to be what I'm going to talk about as my tip for this week. But,
right. Well, it's funny.
Yeah, weather has been insane. I've
got Audrey. I'll just see if I can put on the screen share there. This is your site, and I was fascinated, mind you, because I don't see any bolting there. We're actually doing some radish.
I let the radish bolt.
Right, I've never seen that in radish seed pods. You're seeing the harvest them as well. But if I'll just play a little bit. Look at them.
Now here's the beauty of these things. A radish is a one-off kind of vegetable. Well, this was from 3 French radishes that I let go to seed.
3 radishes, gosh.
I know.
Yeah.
So
we got
is that a new thing you've discovered, Audrey? Is it radish seed pods? Or
I used to in the garden. That used to be a snack in the garden. You could just pop off a radish seed if something went to. If it's something bolted. But now I'm trying to dehydrate them because I think they might work in a salad in the winter.
Wow.
Right?
So what would they come out dehydrated then? Just dried crisps almost? Or?
I'm gonna chop them into 1-inch pieces and dehydrate them and see because they taste like radish. So I'm thinking if I can make them shelf stable, then I can have radishes all winter and they're going to be lovely.
Well, I also want to just show you as well, Audrey, because look at this. There's no bolting there. You've got...
No, my turnips this year were spectacular.
I don't know how many you got as well. What are you going to do with all them? Do you know what I mean?
I'm cooking them partially and freezing them.
Oh, right.
So you cook them part way, and then at the end, when you thaw them, you blast them, and they come out lovely caramelized turnips. So yeah, I'm starting to post recipes on my website for this stuff. So that's another resource if people want to use that.
Lovely. Well, don't forget as well, we have got a food channel on there now as well, our Discord, so do pop over to our Discord channel. I was even putting me salads on there and showing me salads. And actually it was JB mentioned that it should be opened up because I was saying shows you salad. But JB, you said it should be kind of all sorts to open up there. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it was a good idea that.
We made a boatload of garlic skate pesto and onion top pesto yesterday. So maybe I'll post a little bit of that.
Lovely.
Yeah, they're delicious.
JB, I've noticed now, you know what I mean? I'll just swap it over there. That You
here we go.
haven't
There's
been.
a
No, it's
coming.
no. It's not, I've just noticed the last. It's been 4 weeks since you've been.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, it's been ages.
And now I know your dad's kind of has time just been taken up constantly with pop.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, basically that. It's just been one of those times where there's lots of drama. There's lots of it's a difficult time. And I've still been able to sort of get up the allotment and finding it really helpful at the moment as well, like finding time to get down there. There's normally like at least one time in my growing year where everything all goes a bit wrong. Everything comes off the rails. Life gets in the way. Videos stop getting made. And normally when that happens, like the allotment's kind of abandoned, and like it's all going wrong. But this time I've sort of been more on top of the allotment, and I'm finding it really helpful, for my own mental health kind of thing, to get down
Brilliant.
there. But I've just not been quite in the right frame of mind to be doing videos. It's not so much the filming, but it's the having to come away and dedicate a few evenings to the edit, because as you guys know, we have slightly different editing styles when it comes to videos, and I wish I could make them as quick as you guys.
Well, it's funny. I remember that we did have that chat with me and Steve. Were just kind of dumbfounded how much hard work goes into one of your videos, and it's almost like we're embarrassed to say, like, we just press record. That's it. Next.
No, it's good. Yeah, I'm sort of perfectionist is the wrong word, but I put a lot of time and effort. Most of my like tour videos, I did film one on Friday actually, which was quite helpful for me again, and it was good because I love making videos because you have to like you see your own plot through different eyes again, because just showing people around. You get so used to seeing the same stuff every time, and it kind of makes you stop and take a breath and appreciate stuff. It's one of my favorite things about
Are you
videos.
still? Are you getting as good enough a veg as that, JB?
Absolutely not. My brassicas are tiny. When did you sow and plant most of those brassicas?
Oh, no, bloody hell. Steve, when did you tell when to plant the cauliflower? It was early on. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was earlier. On. It was earlier than what I would have thought. To be honest,
I mean, really, cauliflowers don't like heat, so they really need to be done in the growing cycle, sort of. As early as January is not too early for cauliflower. January, February, get them in, get them out before summer hits.
Well, I don't think it was. I don't think it was January, but it was certainly way earlier than what I thought. But it works. Do you know what I mean? Because I would have been a little bit later, and because you normally think it's too. You know what I mean? It's too cold. What's gonna? But no, they've come so good so quickly. You know what I mean? The last time I was looking, I was like, oh, they're there. Then the next time you pop up, oh, bloody hell! You know what I mean? And so
nice. I was really late with my brassicas. I started most of them in kind of March, and the compost they were in was really naff. And it got to the start of April, like a month on, and they were still just starting to get their first tree leaves. Yeah. And it wasn't until someone in the comments went, "You might want to check your compost, JV." Yeah. And then I potted them on into something different, and they all started flourishing. But most of them have only just gone out into the bed now.
That's going to be a problem from next year as well.
Oh, here he goes with his bloody compost, bloody thing. It'll be all right. It's all doom and gloom. It's not, man. Be fine. You'll be all right, man. You'll be good.
Oh, I'll be fine. Yeah.
What's your compost? Is it coming good in the end? The rocket fuel stuff.
It's doing all right. I've got the rocket fuel that I bought from a farm down south somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head where it's at. So that's the waste from an anaerobic digester, and they blend it with something else. It looks like wood fibers and stuff, but that's not too bad. The stuff I got locally, again, is not too bad. Just slightly less of a quality than the stuff I bought. But, of course, the stuff that I got for free was free. So
can't complain there. Yeah.
Can't complain there, no.
Audrey, I've had this note on my kind of notes for a while there because I wanted to talk about, because you mentioned as well, vertical gardening.
Yes.
Now, do you do any of that? Because I'm interested in doing some, but never kind of the
I do
nearest
all kinds of it.
the nearest I get to it. I think once was I bought one of these mat sack things that have about 90 little cotton canvas plant pots hanging, and you hang it on a wall. That's the
Oh, yeah,
nearest. Do you know what I'm on
yeah,
about?
yes. Yeah, that would be a nightmare to keep wet,
I
like
know, I
keep
know,
watered.
I know.
Oh, that would
So,
be a
so I
nightmare.
didn't actually, I didn't bother with it, to be honest. It was one of the
Yeah, no,
early days.
I do a lot of vertical.
So
Um, I
how
I
do
grow
you do it?
tomatoes up the back of my garage, up strings right up the back of the garage. I use a lot of trellises. I think I have about 13 trellises, a
Wow.
couple like cattle panel hoops that are taking my cauliflower and some of my squash. I grow squash vertically. That's mainly what I grow up the trellises. I have a couple vertical planters.
So
Um,
how do you like say a squash then, Audrey? How do you manage the fruit on a squash vertical?
well,
Are you tying it somewhere and just letting it?
yes, I get little net bags and I tie them right to the trellis. And so that holds the squash, and then the vine just continues to grow. Like once they're pollinated and I can see the little fruit going, I put a bag around it just so I know there's a fruit there. But as it gets larger, I tie it right to the trellis. And that works too for my hoops because I grow squash over the top of the hoops too, and you just tie them. Now I have to bring my husband in because he's tall and he can tie him to the hoop, but yeah, it works great. And that way
Right,
they also don't fall. Sometimes a melon or a squash will fall if you don't catch it at the right time. If you let it go a little too long, that stem gives. And
right.
after all that work, you see it sitting there
Oh.
broken, and the
Oh.
squirrel looking at you like, thanks. Uh, yeah, so it also keeps it from falling.
Because I
Yeah,
know,
no,
Steve, how's your? Because you built the trellis of all trellises. I think it was to climb the
Oh yeah,
bloody climb the Cumbrian hills. That thing there. How's it going? Because you did put
that's beautiful.
sweet peas down there, which I
I
wouldn't
did.
have done. To be honest, I would have put beans there straight away to get in. But how's things doing with that?
It's brilliant. It
Oh,
really is.
you're frozen, Stephen.
Frozen again. I'll come back in a minute when you're
Right.
on
Well,
somebody else. But yeah, the sweet pea frame itself is brilliant.
I'll ask JB about vertical because I don't know if JB actually has done any vertical growing there, JB, or not, or
Yeah, a little bit. I've never had any proper structures. I've kind of dabbled with a bit of just makeshift like twine and bamboo. It's about
well,
the best you'll
that's
get
yeah,
out of me. And I've done lots of things like cucumbers are good. They're ones that I tend to trail up. I've always been a bit. The main squash I grow is butternut.
right,
Because they're the best. And I'm always a bit too worried about trying to put those up something because of the weight of a butternut squash. They're big boys. So unless you're, really attentive and you've got like tights or whatever, to support them, I just worry as well. Bamboo canes can only take a certain amount of weight. But I don't think there's too many things that I grow that would really benefit from it. I've tried to, well, this year, first time actually trying peas. They're obviously vertical as well, and that's sort of been a mixed success.
I think
But
the
I did
most.
make.
Go on,
Sorry, go on.
sorry, go on. No, by all means.
I did make a little pea structure as well out of old like bits of ash tree that I'd cut, and that's quite nice. That looks quite nice.
I think like you're saying, the most I've done is just like the bamboo wigwam for the peas. But I noticed, like, say, Steve built this thing that just was, you know what I mean? It was just it would have been a danger if it fell when you were actually building the thing, Steve. How's it going? That
It's over the companion beds. Not going as well as I planned because I've got cup and saucer plants that I wanted it to. It's a climber. I wanted it to grow up and over the top and down the other side, really. So it would be bathed in flowers. It's growing, but because of the weather, it's not growing very well. So next year, I'll do the same thing again, but might try a few other plants, black-eyed Susan or something like that.
what
Just to
about
go over the top.
because Fletchy Babe's asking, yeah, Steve, vertical garden can be done with any vine plants. I've failed with cucumbers. I just can't, well, I grow them outside. They're all right growing inside up a vine or a string.
Yeah.
Do you ever grow cucumbers outside or out like that?
I've actually got some to plant, and they've actually been sat outside for about 3 or 4 weeks now, I think, waiting for a space or waiting for me to get off my bum and go and plant them. But I've got some which I'm going to grow this year, and I think they're market more. I think they're a normal sort of field cucumber.
And will they be all right? Because I'm just guessing they're coming through. The roots are coming through now. Are they not getting a little bit pot bound?
Well, they're in those really sturdy trays that we got from Container Wise. Big hole in the bottom. So when I pick them up, I'll pick up a lump of soil with them as well. They'll be rooted through the containers into the bed underneath. They're sat on a bed outside.
Oh, it's I just seem to feel they kind of grow. It gets mildew and they just don't. And yet, 30 foot away in the polytunnel, they're fine. Do you know what I mean? I've got cucumbers there now that I'm kind of picking off. You know, I'm not going to say left, right, and centre, but I'm sure probably more than the old fella.
I mean, it could really be because you pack a lot of plants into your garden because you're fairly smallish space to grow outside. You tend to pack a lot more plants in, whereas because I've got like a football field, as you say, I've got all this bed space. I tend to plant things further and further apart.
Well, I think did we talk about that once before with that program? You know, you can buy that program each year, and like winter, you kind of mark out your garden with it. I forget what the actual program online is called. And my raised beds, I could have probably, you know, one of my biggest ones, I could probably have according to them, 3 cabbages in, where I've probably got about 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even your beds, Steve, are huge. Do you know what I mean? So you should be able to kind of grow a cauliflower.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, pal.
Surely.
At least I know where there are some and where someone's going away next week.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
Right. Let's have a look. Let's see if we've got some questions there. Stephen Holmes, first time growing Crimson Crush, lovely tomato. And my results are great. Can I save the seeds as they're expensive? Now, Stephen, that's something I'm not aware. I really don't know. Audrey, is that something? Crimson Crush tomato, is that something you know about? Can you save them seeds?
I have never grown a Crimson Crush. I have no idea.
Now, I know, like, say, the perfect outside, Steve's shaking his head there. Because I had a great crop outside. I think
are you throwing that at me, Steve? Because I've never grown one?
All right. The blight resistant and everything, you know what I mean? And the flavour's lovely as well. So can we not save them seeds, Steve?
No, the problem is they're an F1, and if you save them next year, they become an F2 and then an F3. If you breed in new varieties, that's how you breed them. You breed them down the F charts until they become stable. But really, going from an F1 to an F2, what that means is that your seeds will be F2 next year, and you might not necessarily get Crimson Crush next year. It could be more of the mother plant that made the F1, the Crimson Crush, or more of the father plants, or it could be something completely different. So you never really know. That's why you buy Crimson Crush F1 new seeds every year. And it's cheap. If you want more plants, just do what I do. Take the side shoots off and plant them. You get brilliant results.
It seems, Stephen, mind you, I think you've just started a little craze there with this side shoot propagation.
I know, it's everywhere.
Everyone's doing it, you know what I mean? And to be honest, I'm doing it to try and say, look at it, it's not working. Why is it? But every time I put a tomato in, it's a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it to the point now, Steve, where I'm doing it on like as hard a life that tomato can have. Do you know what I mean? Without any love, without any care, just stick in the soil. I know he's wrong. And the bug has it, like you say, a couple of days, it'll wilt. And then it's just like, and you think, God, it's away again. Do you know what I mean? So I've got about, I'm going to say now, 8 tomatoes, you know, like, and what you mentioned as well was like, the trusses are dead low down, so it's like almost
Yeah,
they're
you get
almost
an
better
extra
than
set.
they're almost better than the.
And the vigor in those plants is so much better. I mean, I don't like to plug on here; it's not the right way to do it. But my video today, I show the Crimson Crush side shoot plants that I took, and from the moment I picked them off the plants and put them in the soil, it's exactly 1 month and 1 day. And you should see these plants now. Some of them are like over 1.5 feet tall now, and they're raging away. They're absolutely stunning, really, really good.
It almost, Steve, when you think about it, because we're always, and it's a hard thing for me, anyways, to not be so impatient, but to cut out the February, March time for sowing, because you can seem to be like get away with it now. You know,
Yeah.
it's sow a few, I guess, sow 6 tomatoes in March. You know what I mean? If anyone wants to try that, bring them on, then just take every side shoot, and you've got as many as you.
Yeah. Well, I've
Well,
been telling you that for years, haven't I?
Oh, I know, and I've ignored you, and now you know what I mean. I've just kind of tried it, but I've noticed there's quite a few. I noticed Eli and Kate; they're doing it now as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, oh, look at that!
Sorry.
Can you tell who's it is? JB, I know you haven't been doing, but have you tried that before? Taking the side shoots off?
Yeah, I haven't done it this year. And last year I didn't grow any tomatoes at all. Because I just dedicated.
Well, I'm
the
not
whole lot to chili
surprised. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of, it's
Yeah.
a chili
But
fest.
first year I did, and I grew a load of tomatoes outside from side shoots, because I was like, well, I didn't really want to waste them. I had a little bit of space kicking around. Yeah, they were good plants. They were very good plants. I was surprised. It's just it always blows me away how quickly tomatoes grow. They're just like on rocket fuel. Especially when I'm so used to growing chili peppers, which you start in January and you baby them, and then like at the start of April they're just starting to look like actual plants. You chuck a tomato seed in the ground and it's bigger than your 4-month-old chili pepper in like a few weeks. It's just rude.
They're like those plants from the Little Shop of Horrors, aren't they? They just come out and say, "Feed me," and they're off and running.
Well, it's amazing, like you say, when we're getting to March and we're all a bit like kind of panicky about getting the tomato seeds sown.
No.
You know what I mean?
I did mine right at the end, 29th of March.
Right.
When I sowed mine.
Oh, I think,
And they're maybe a little bit
think-
behind some of the others that I've seen. I haven't got any ripe fruit yet, but
Sorry, JB, I didn't mean to talk over you there.
No,
I think I planted my Crimson Crush in March, and you were talking, Tony, about how late could you sow them, and I said all the way up until May, and you said no, they just wouldn't ripen, they won't ripen, and then Audrey sent me some seeds very kindly. I sowed them, planted them, and those things are 4 foot tall now.
Oh, I know. Aye. So I think it's a bit of, for myself, a bit of humble pie eating. I think I don't mind admitting. You know what I mean?
I noticed you didn't have a hat on.
Audrey, is it the same case for you over there? Because I know your weather is just like totally different, where it's like cold, 3 days normal, red hot. How do you kind of plan your tomato growing season?
I typically start them mid to late March and get them in as soon as my nighttime temps are warm enough. But that's about it. I wish I had room to try the side shoots. I just don't have a football field like Steve. So I have to limit myself to like 35 tomato plants.
35. JB, how many tomato plants you got going? How many tomato plants you got going?
it's a 4 plant.
We're doing the
4
4
entire
system.
plants.
We're doing the 4 system, yeah. How,
Yeah.
Steve, how many have you got, to be honest?
I've got about 20 in the main tunnel. 4, 8, 12, 16. There's about another 25 in the test tunnel, and all that's for testing. And I've got about another 25 side shoot plants, which I'm planting the end of this week. And that's again all for another test. So I hate testing.
And how many
See,
did you say, JB, you had?
Literally 4.
4. for.
Literally for.
Are you on the wrong show?
I
You know,
know. It's when I get that second
Well-
greenhouse, I'll definitely have a few more tomatoes. But
right?
they're
Are you?
massive
Oh,
plants.
I forgot all about that. You've got
You
that
do get-
to put up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
eventually.
36
It's on
doesn't
the
even sound like a
long-term
nod
list.
compared to Steve's. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Let me just see. I've seen a great question here from Major the dog. How important is adding bloodfish and bone? As a vegetarian, I only add compost for the heap. I only use like compost from the heap. Any alternatives can you suggest that aren't animal based? Now, JB, is that something you know about?
It's an interesting question. I'm trying to think of. I'm not sure if you can get any kind of solid fertilizers that are kind of both organic and can be applied in the same way as bloodfish and bone. There's lots of artificial stuff, like the what's that blue stuff that you get? Grow
Oh, the
Miracle
grow,
Grow.
yes, grow more, yes.
Miracle Grow, yeah,
Miracle
yeah.
Grow.
But
Crazy
if you're if it's a question about kind of ethics and you're trying to source stuff from like really responsible places, most of that kind of that blue stuff, that general NPK, normally that does have quite a kind of environmental cost, because it's kind of like mined out the ground. A lot of it comes from Russia, which is one of the reasons that like there's a big crisis in farming at the moment because of the fertilizer prices going crazy. So you've got like a lot of the greenhouses at the moment are just empty because they can't afford the fertilizer to make it economical. That's slightly off topic, isn't it? But interesting. So I think if you're just doing it as like an organic vegetarian thing, then I think probably that all you can really do is your own compost and making the nettle teas, making comfrey tea, that kind of stuff.
It's when when you kind of have a good think about it. I know we kind of like meat eaters and that, but when even it's in the names in the title, bloodfish and bone, it's a hideous thing to think about. But you know what I mean? You think, oh, gee, I'm a bit queasy. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, I've never. My wife's been vegetarian since she was 12-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's something you kind of. It's a given on an allotment. Steve, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking, actually, it was making me think now when you mentioned the bloodfish and bone, because, again, I mentioned on the video today that when I was sort of back in the 1970s, you could walk into many hardware stores and you could go and buy 4 ounces of blood meal or a pound of fish meal or whatever you wanted, but all the fertilizers were separate in bags, and you took them home and you blended what you want for that particular plant. And I don't see any reason why you can't do the same, but using more natural ingredients. As JB was saying, make nettle tea for nitrogen, make comfrey tea for the potassium part of your feed. I'm not sure what you do for your phosphorus. I'd have to put some thought into that. But there are plenty of options. I mean, if you want a feed or a compost that's vegetarian based or vegan based, go out and mow somebody else's lawn and collect that and use that. You might have to work a bit harder, but there are certainly ways around it. It's all down to how much effort you want to put into it. But again, JB was saying there about the chemical stuff that you can buy. That can be inorganic as such, but can be too high up on the chemicals and salts as well. And the other stuff that's got the organic stuff in, it will have some trace somewhere along the way of fish blood and bone. It's kind of a base fertilizer in most of them. So it's difficult, but if you want to put the work in, you can do it, but you will have to put a bit of extra work in, and you'll feel better for it at the end of the day as well.
Steve or everyone, what about substituting like the seaweed extract? Is that, you know what I mean? Is that any better or good, or would that help?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
Seaweed's brilliant. I mean, that's got trace elements in as well, so if you can get hold of that, that's probably your best bet. But it's not good if you're in the middle of Birmingham,
Audrey, I guess has this crossed your mind before? Like, or even just to the point of like what you're actually putting in your soil? Are you like?
Oh, absolutely. I actually have my first comfrey plant that is going in this week. because I thought, why am I not using other plants to grow my plants, right?
Yeah.
If I can do that. And I try to buy organic fertilizers. Actually, that's the only thing I do buy. Even my Cal Mag is organic. It's not, I mean, it's a good quality. Um, but I think between seaweed and maybe comfrey, and I think potassium you can get, not potassium, phosphate, I think you can get from rocks. Isn't there a rock phosphate? Um, anyway, I think there are ways, but I would honestly Google it because I think the vegan vegetarian community has grown so much in the last 5 to 10 years. I
Um,
know there would be products from very reputable companies that would offer you a vegan or a vegetarian choice.
Steve, you did mention about you've got this big bag of some sort of, is it rock salt or some sort of rock, crushed down
Rock
rock?
dust.
Yeah.
Rock dust, yeah.
What's that?
That comes from Scotland, and it's basically quarry waste almost, but it's full of trace elements. Now the
Mhm.
theory is with rock dust, when you've broken a pebble that's been in a stream, if you've ever done that, it's very dark in the center, but the outer layer is kind of white. That's the rock that's dissolving and over time makes the pebble round. But those bits of rock have got the trace elements in that your soil needs. And the
Mhm.
idea is with the rock dust, it's there in more proportions and sinks down through your soil to make your soil better overall for a number of years. The school's out on it. I mean, there are two camps of these people. There are people who think it's, snake oil, and there are people who have done some reasonable tests on it and it has worked for them. I happen to be in the camp where I believe it works on the tests that I've done. So
And is it just a powder? Is that all it is? Like like a bag of powder, or do you feel grit, some sort of grit with it, or?
it's almost like a sharp sand with some bits of gravel in it. So some of the bits might be a quarter of an inch big, but the majority of it is a very, very fine powder, and you just dig it into your soil. And I did some quite wondrous tests with it a few years ago, which astounded me and convinced me enough that the next year I bought a big bag of it, and I've done my whole garden with it now. So,
And would it
um,
not? Would it not? I'm just trying to think off the cuff here, Steve. Just like the little, because I'm just a little bit paranoid, like stones in the garden. Would you not get like say bits of grit or bits of sharp stuff in your carrots as they grow? Anything like that?
well, you got bits of grit in your soil already, Tony. It's already there.
Ah, it
Yep.
doesn't. But if it works, I suppose. If it's, you know what I mean. And you're in the camp that says it works.
Yeah, I think you've got to. It's a difficult one. I mean, there are some very respectable gardeners on YouTube. One or two of them might even be watching now. I don't know. I know one of them did a test and he wasn't happy with it at all. He wasn't happy with the results. I wasn't happy with the way he said about it, but I respect him heavily for what he does do for gardening and how good a gardener he is. But I can only put that down. The only conclusion I got from that was that he hadn't done the test as thoroughly as I had, or hadn't
Nobody,
done.
Stephen. Nobody does his tests as thoroughly as you, lad.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
You are Mr.
But
Test.
I couldn't figure any reason because I know this guy was such a good gardener, and I was surprised that he got the results that he did, and But I know there are two camps. If you Google it about rock dust, and you will find a lot of this information out there. There are people out there who says it is no good, and there are people out there like me who said, "Well, I used it and it worked for me." I don't know what else to say about it. Really.
Audrey, have you heard about this rock dust? Have you got it over there in America, or?
I've heard about it. I have not added it to my soil or used it, so I can't really comment.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard. Well, I heard, like, say, when Steve mentioned it, it was quite a bizarre kind of concept. But hey, the way you explain it, though, Steve, it kind of makes perfect sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you're putting the base minerals from the base product of the earth back into your garden. Why wouldn't it work? You know?
Well, the thing I'd done was when I first used it, I was given this bag because a friend of mine, a plot neighbour, had been given this bag by a doctor who had left the village. So he said, I don't know what to do with it. Do you want it? I said, I'll have it. I'll chuck it on my bed. So I wasn't bothered. So I chucked it over this area and then just left it. I think I planted peas and beans, didn't notice anything special. And then after that, I put in some leeks. Now, it was really odd because I put the rows of leeks transverse to the area where I'd put the rock dust in. So half the leeks were in the rock dust and half the leeks weren't. The ones in the rock dust were almost twice the size, and they seemed to last better in the ground, and they seemed to taste better. And I couldn't figure out why this was happening. And then I looked back on my photographs and I thought, it could be the rock dust. So the next year we bought a bag, and I did the same sort of thing, but only with potatoes this time. My potatoes in the rock dust were a third bigger than the ones not in the rock dust. And again, they stored a lot better. So I've used it since then as well. But they were the two things that convinced me that there was something to it, whatever it is. I'm not a scientist. I just do tests,
Well, I think that's answered that question thoroughly. You know what I mean? Like seaweed and rock dust, and there is things out there. Yeah, you know what I mean.
There is.
Yeah, so I mean, we all kind of fall on the bloodfish and bone, but I guess what you said, Steve, there, if you work a little bit harder, where do you get the rock dust from? Just can you order it on Amazon? Can you? Or?
It's a company called Remin. That's Remin. And they're in Scotland. And I'm just trying to think of the name of the lady there. She's a lovely lass. I can't think of her name, but
if you put in the Discord, we'll you know what I mean. Did you see that? If you put the link in the Discord, we'll don't forget to go over to the Discord and.
Have I not been kicked out of there yet? Then.
I know. Yes, we were just talking. We were talking about that. We've got our own little kind of potty mouth WhatsApp, and we think fat finger Steve's kicked himself out of the chat. He didn't realise he was kicked out. I was in. Lock the doors. Don't let the bugger back in. Right then, let's have a couple more questions, and then we'll. David Bruff. Is it too late to grow cucumbers? Well, I would actually say no, Stephen, but you probably have to have perfect conditions. Now, JB, someone that's only planting 4 tomatoes, is it worth planting a cucumber now?
I don't know. I would say maybe not. I mean, Steve always is the expert when it comes to late sowing stuff. But I think for me, it would be getting on a bit for cucumbers. The ones that I have got now are starting to get to kind of this kind of size.
Right.
And that's when I'm planting them out.
Steady. Are you sure? There's no photographs there. It was, Jimmy, that was a case of, they're about, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I don't really, we'll probably never see them all. So we're just taking that gospel at the little things like that. I would have thought you might get a little one, you know what I mean? If you kind of sowed it now, but I found a plant, I'm sure. It's just, this season is just it catches me every time where you kind of think, you've only got a couple of months, 3 months, growing season, but how quick? Especially this year.
Stop thinking about how long you've got to go. Just get on with it and chuck a seed into the soil and find out and learn for yourself. That's the best way with every seed. If you're not sure, just have a go. Seeds are relatively cheap.
And you get like that. You know what I mean?
There you go, see? Straight from Waitrose.
Straight from Waitrose.
Straight from Waitrose. Straight in there.
Well, we never really know how bad our fall and early winter is going to be. Sometimes we have.
Audrey, that's spot on. You're right.
Because when we're moving towards that frost date, that could move 2 or 3 weeks depending on the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a firm believer. Because of the spring we've had, and maybe the early summer I'm having, I'm going to load my garden for fall this year.
Yeah.
Because what have I got to lose?
Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, though, Audrey, it's heartbreaking when that frost does hit, because certain plants, like you say, JB, like peppers, chilies, they're just bang, gone within the night. Do you know what I mean? Kind of, and
Well,
it's
I wouldn't be starting a pepper right now.
no. But
No.
what I'm saying is like
But a cube? Yeah,
pushing
I'd
that
take a bird
boundary,
shot at that.
pushing like the boundary and keeping
Absolutely.
it.
But a lot of you have polytunnels and
Yeah.
greenhouses
Hmm.
that I'm sure adds a good season extender.
Oh,
So if
yeah.
they're not in the ground, you can always pop them in somewhere else to see if they'll. I mean, I'm trying to think how I can grow carrots till Christmas. Now I'm very like, yeah, I'm going to have Christmas carrots. Because didn't you say something
Yeah.
about a Christmas carrot challenge?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, but
Yeah.
I'm going to have to like, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But
Well,
because my December is so bad. But I'm thinking maybe in my garage near a window, put some bubble wrap around it. I mean, I'm gonna get some dang carrots.
Carrots and Christmas. Steve,
That's the spirit.
what were you going to say?
Yeah, winner.
What? Is that? I thought I was going to go for something like. Well, I think it would be nice to kind of try it again. Do you know what I mean? And get all involved and get it on the Discord and get like
Yeah.
a proper carrot
Yeah.
challenge and just see. We'll have
Well,
to like.
I'm in, and I have a hellish December, so
Mhm.
I'm in.
Yeah.
We'll have to
So-
kind of get some ground rules where we'll have to have the seeds sown by a certain date and not before a certain date. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. I'll leave that to you, Stephen. we'll make an announcement a little bit later on. We'll have like because I'm sure victory this year. You know what I mean? I'm feeling hellish confidence. You know what I mean? I'm up there, man. I'm up there. I can take his crown.
There you go.
Well, talking about the late sowing and sowing now with the cucumbers, it's still only June, and when I was a kid, we never sowed seeds until May and June. So I think cucumber, as JB said, I'm sure you'll get a small plant and a few fruit from it. And a good example of growing into autumn and winter is the fennel that I was harvesting this sort of January and February because we had such a mild winter. Normally, I only grow it for the herb, the foliage for use around Christmas time. But this year, they actually grew into bulbs because it was such a mild autumn and winter. So it's always worth sowing a seed. If you're ever not sure, just sow it and see what happens. Write your dates down, keep a note, and learn by it.
Yep.
There you go. Wise words, wise words. Pauline Morris is asking, has anyone grown their own loofahs? Not me, Pauline. I have no idea how to grow one. Has anybody grown a loofah?
I haven't grown them, but I know they're part of the cucurbit family. And I know she
Yeah,
grew
I
them last
grew-
year as well.
I grew one.
Any good,
Once.
Audrey?
They take over. These vines are like 20 feet long. And when you're done, yeah, you get a loofah, but you have to dry it and clean it and get all the seeds out. Again, for me, it was a little more effort than not just buying a loofah at the drugstore. So I did it
Right.
once, but it literally took over.
It doesn't appeal to me, but you know what I mean?
Well,
Everyone.
it's a very long vine, and it was just one of those things. I think I was quite young at the time and just thought, oh, I can do that. Well, yeah, I think I got 3 loofahs. Yeah. Again, never grown them again.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, this is the total wrong time to do this, but Steve mentioned it because we're going into the height of summer. But Stephen, we've been talking a little bit about how to heat a polytunnel a little bit later on in the kind of the wintry months, and like you say, bringing like the carrot challenge and trying to like get. How have you had any thoughts on how we're going to kind of achieve? Because both our tunnels are pretty tall, pretty high. Have you had any
Yeah.
thoughts on kind of how
Oh, yeah.
how to get around? Look at it; he's not giving anything away. You know what I mean?
I've had a few ideas. Whether they're going to work or whether they'll be viable is a different matter. I mean, I've been looking at a gas heater for a start. That's the first thing I've looked at, and that's quite expensive. But all I'm trying to do is just to keep all the growing in one space. That's really what I want to do. And then while you're using that space, the space above it, you can store the plants. See, my greenhouse at home's a little bit confined for me, so I'd like a slightly bigger area, which I can't provide here at home. A heated space to grow all my seeds, and then when the plants are growing on, they can go in the residual heat that's already there. That's what I'm looking at. So I'm just looking at various options, and I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at all the silly stuff as well, and just weighing up the options. I might even run some tests this winter. We'll see.
Well, you're gonna have. It wouldn't be fair if you didn't do a test. I've watched a few videos where they've kind of put like a polytunnel within a polytunnel. You know what I mean? And just heated
That's good.
like say a micro zone, just heated that little bit. But then, like I say, your challenge is to kind of heat the bigger area for the plants coming out. That's
Not all of me polytunnel, a section of it. And actually, there's my first idea came from someone you know, Tony, as well. That's the thing.
Right.
Someone you know and admire and copy, should I say?
Oh, right. Well, it's got to be it's got to be the legend, hasn't it? It's got to be the legend, the man himself, is it not?
Yeah. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are you talking about? Well, I don't know. I'm going to say Charlie Dowden.
No,
Oh, right,
not Charlie Dowden.
Because I've seen he does the what do you call
thing?
Yeah, the hot box.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does the hot bin. Yeah, and
or hotbed.
Would that? I suppose he's got a fair size green because he does it in a greenhouse. That.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's one of the other methods I'm looking at, but I'm looking at. And this is where it starts to get silly. It's the effort of getting a barrow full of manure through a greenhouse door into some area where you can either tip it out or empty it. That last little bit is the hardest bit of it. And if you're piling it up a metre square, it becomes difficult. So as I say, these silly ideas get sillier, where I've even thought about building a greenhouse with a removable side. So I can just stack it from the outside, bolt the side back on, and it's done. So that's what I'm saying. I'm coming up with all these ridiculous ideas at the minute of how I can do these various things, and one by one, I'll tick them off and get rid of them.
Now, Steve, wouldn't that just stink to high heaven?
Only for a little while, but that's just
life.
Countryside.
Country life. How are you, Audrey?
No.
Man's countryside, man. Oh, no. City girl hasn't smelled manure.
City girl here, yeah. No,
if I open my back door and walk up the path, there's cows 50 yards up there. and they poo all day.
And Steve, you make all your tea just in the middle of your plot, don't you? You've got all your comfrey tea and everything just going out in the open. Yeah. That doesn't smell great, does it?
I think we've found the city girl's Achilles heel here. You know what I mean?
I like things that have lovely scents. That horrible smells. Thank you.
Good.
But I'm fine with that. I'm born and raised in the city.
It's funny, that would not bother me at all, and I probably to the point I wouldn't be able to smell it. I worked in the water industry, and I've worked on the kind of sewage side when I first started for 10 years, and you just you don't smell it. Eventually, you get used to that kind of smell. You know what I mean? I would go home from a sewage works, like these little country sewage works and it was just all around, and people would you walk into the chip shop or the sandwich shop, and it was just like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? But we were just oblivious to it, so maybe you get. No. I recommend.
I get rather well composted manure for my garden.
Yes,
and it's outside.
And it comes in a bag. Does it come in a bag with a barcode?
Yes, it does.
Right, is there any more questions? Let's have a look. Tara Blinkenhorn is asking, is if you could only grow one variety of tomato, what would it be?
Flipping heck.
Well, I would just cop out and say Brad's Atomic for me. Steve, what about you, sir?
Oh gosh, you get that thing out of my mouth. There you go. Do you know? I don't know. I don't really want to say a Crimson Crush because I grow so many other flavourful varieties, but I don't think you can beat a good Shirley tomato, which I'm not growing this year.
See, now, I honestly would have never thought you'd pick that. I just would have, because it's just, to me, it's just like what's a mundane.
Yeah.
From the varieties now that Audrey's introduced me to, you know what I mean? These
Yeah.
kind of, these like heirloom ones, the flavours are like rocket fuel, kind of, you know, and even to some extent, like, what's the F1 dead sweet one, Sun Gold?
Gold, yeah.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. But like
Yeah.
on a regular tomato, like one of the heirloom ones, surely just Division 3, Stephen. Division 3.
The thing is with a Shirley is it's a proper tomato taste. Now everything has come on from then. I mean, if you look at like the Sun Gold, one of the very super sweets, and there are lots of those around now. So it depends how your palate is as well. I'm thinking that your palate is for quite sweet tomatoes, whereas I prefer a more tangy, acidic
No,
one.
you see, that's why I picked the Brad's Atomic, because it has got a sweet, but it has got head and shoulders. It's got this like tang, like a little bite to it that I think it's got the both elements, which just, you know,
It's very tomatoey to me. It's not. To me, it's like just a beautiful tomato flavor. Yeah, Brad's Atomic, I think, is one of the.
Well, I've never tried one, so I don't know. I'm growing them, but
You're gonna
ask me
try
next
it
year. I
soon.
might say Brad's.
There we go. Then. Well, don't mess it up. Don't lose them, and try them, and we'll come back in late August, October, September. We'll see. JB, with your we've got time to find out the 4 tomatoes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I have mentioned them before. There's pineapple, Crimson Crush, Gardener's Delight, and Montserrat, I think.
Right.
So a couple of beefs, and yeah, first time ever doing Crimson Crush. So I'll see. Hopefully, it lives up to the hype.
But what would,
apparently
just
Gardener's
as
Delight is
drawn a line in the sand, what now would be your nicest tomato?
the one that I grew before that I enjoyed the most was probably the Russian black cherry. That was really, really nice. And I probably should have grown that again. I regret not doing that.
I don't know if I've mentioned this on the. Have I mentioned this last week or something? But one of our allotment growers over the fence from me, he's a market gardener, and the only tomato that's getting left on the shelf is the Russian one because of the name. You know, people aren't buying the Russian. He says there's just like loads of them left. No one's picking them up or anything. You know, so. Have we got anything else? Oh, I'll tell you a quick topic before we go, because I see time is against us again. I'm asked to this week. I've been watering the neighbour's polytunnel from down from us, and I don't do it, and I don't know if anybody else does it or not. But the lad said, "Oh, don't worry about it, Tony. When you water, just connect a water sprinkler." And just switch that on and just water the whole lot like that. Now, I don't do it like that. Steve, have you ever? I know you can water your path to get a bit of like cool condensation going on, but I've never just put a sprinkler in and mine, don't get us wrong, these tomatoes are away like rockets, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But has anyone ever done like the sprinkler where, you know, like backwards and forwards, just leave it on for 15 minutes to wet the whole polytunnel? Steve?
I wouldn't do it. I think you're asking for trouble doing that. I mean, I said last week on one of the tips, I think it was last week, that water droplets on leaves, and then the sun comes out, it acts like a magnifying glass and burns the leaves. And you can also lead yourself, if you're going to get water all over all the foliage of your plants, you can be heading towards botrytis and all kinds of fungal problems. Water the soil, water your paths, to create some humidity in there, but I wouldn't. I mean, if it's working for him, it's working for him, and he's happy. But I personally wouldn't do that. No.
JB, is that something you would think about?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, you know, the general advice is, you know, you don't want too much moisture because it's great conditions for bacterial growth as well. So if you've got any bacterial diseases or anything, you kind of want to be careful of that. And the other thing, especially with tomatoes, is that you kind of want to reduce the impact of water, splashing into the soil and then splashing the soil back up onto the plant, because that can be where some of the nasties are hiding.
Well, actually, I'll jump to you, Audrey, in a second, but from like a devil's advocate point of view, I did notice that when we kind of talked last week as well, Steve, about me thinning the bottom leaves. His leaves are, and you know what I mean, we might kind of beg to differ on that way, because I've left mine, like them 6 still I haven't kind of thinned out, and it's just a knotty mess there. Now, the lad who I'm watering has thinned severely, you know what I mean? So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But Audrey, you haven't got the kind of the complication of a polytunnel and all the moisture. But is that have you heard of that? Like water sprinkling tomatoes? Is that something?
Yeah, but I learned gardening starting with roses, and roses do not like their foliage getting wet. So I started from the get-go watering from the bottom. So, I mean, I see lawns all over here getting watered like that, but I would not water my garden like that unless I had to.
Well, I don't, but it was just that, like I say, I was asked to do it that way, and it was quite bizarre. I thought, I'll mention that just to see what we've got. Well, I think what are we on now? Oh, we've just passed the hour there. Tip of the week, JB. Although he hasn't been to his garden and he hasn't done much, he's got. I'm hoping he actually got a tip of the week for gardeners.
I mean, it's not exactly groundbreaking, but this is just something that I came across this week. And I thought, I'll lodge that, because I'd never heard it before, and I was interested to see if you guys knew about this. But it's about sunflowers, and apparently sunflowers put out a chemical that suppresses the growth of other plants around them. And I'd never heard this, but
I hope not. I've got them all over the allotment.
Apparently, you're not meant to have them in the beds with your other veggies.
I've got about 50 off bloody Audrey there. They're all over Now he tells us. Right, JB, I've never heard that.
Well, you can do a test. You can see how stuff's growing around him.
That's all the test you need. That's all the test you need. Come on now, you just calm that down. That's it. I have never heard that. Like I say, I bet I've got about 30. Do you know what I mean? So there's a few. So I'll, once they start, I haven't noticed anything. Do you know what I mean?
But it's applying for a Waitrose card, Tony.
I know. Have you heard that, Audrey, about sunflowers suppressing?
I have not, because I just sowed about 100 in my background bed. So I have not heard that.
I know. Good.
I think they have to be very close, like in close proximity.
Right. I'm not putting anything right up against. I was going to grow beans up them. That was a thought.
Maybe that would.
Well, that's a test you can do, Audrey.
Test?
Hey, test it.
Well, maybe I should plant the bean a little further away and then encourage it to go up the sunflower.
Well, JB, I've never heard that, but now I'm kind of a little bit worried. I'll be honest. I'll not lie.
You should do it like I've done. Put them all in one bed.
I know, but I wanted just to have like colour. I wanted to bring the kind of
absolutely and
colour.
Flowers, Tony. That's
yes,
good.
no, they're all there. Yeah. And actually, Steve mentioned, and the more I'm thinking about it, Steve, I don't think they are, but they're getting those cosmos. They're getting hellish tall there now. You said yours grew because the last ones I grew were like there must have been like a dwarf bushy thing, but these ones, they're.
6 foot easy, 6 foot by 3 foot wide, quite easily.
I've got about
and the poorer soil is, the more they like it as well.
So I've got a few of them bloody things as well.
Get rid of that horrible veg and pick some flowers, man.
Audrey,
flowers in your hair.
Tip of the week.
My tip is, because weather is weird, and it sounds like your weather is weird as well. If your
Right,
goal was to
nice.
sow something in the garden this week and it's too hot or it's too cold, sow it indoors. Like keep sowing, even if you can't put it exactly where you want it. Like don't let the weather stop your forward movement for your garden. Sow them in seed trays. Do whatever you got to do because at some point weather will be nicer, or it'll be a nice cloudy day where you can plant these out and keep your garden just moving forward.
That there is the tip of the week, I'm sure, because that one was a great one, Audrey. You do. It's just. You do. You think, oh, it's too bloody hot. I'll not bother. Sow them
Oh, I'm
inside.
not. Yeah, I'm not planting. I'm trying to get my summer lettuce out there. I'm not planting that on a 95 Fahrenheit day. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll be dead before they even hit the soil. So I may start them just in little plugs because I'm getting late. So
That's a great little
You
tip
know?
because I've got a lot of salad. You know, like I say, once I go away, you know what I mean. I can't mother it and look after it as well. So
so you need to give us the address of your plot so we can all head over there. And
get it. Look after it. Babysit
we'll
it.
take,
Babysit
we'll
it.
take pictures.
I'm
We'll
not.
take
I'm not
pictures
having
of
the
what
old. I'm not having that old fella coming near my bloody pot there. He's bloody putting all sort of voodoo magic on there. Stephen,
Matthew cauliflowers.
Stephen, your tip of the week, sir.
Right, well, I did. I almost hinted. I almost told you earlier, didn't I? But this week it's slightly gardening related because this time of the year, as you just mentioned, we're all eating a lot more salads, and one thing that people can vary is the things that you put in it. And a simple mayonnaise, sort of eggs, mustard, oil, vinegar. But you could change that up in so many ways. You could have a nice rapeseed oil in there or an olive oil. Or you can change your mustard out from a Dijon to a German mustard or even an English mustard. So don't just stick with the same ingredients. Vary it slightly, change it. I mean, even if you've got things like pickled chilies, then the next year you've got chili oil that you can use. So just vary the ingredients, change the recipe slightly, and make every salad that bit more special.
Oh, you're a man of my own heart there with the salads. Yes, I'm really enjoying growing. I must admit, Steve, growing like the because normally it's like it's a row or two of salads, and they're almost like a second show to the main crops of tomatoes and that. But this year I've kind of thought, you know what, I'm gonna and we're absolutely loving them. Do you know what I mean? And them ones Audrey sent over, we've got the last one. Oh, actually, it's there. You can see it there. That's the last one.
Where is it? Can't see it.
Oh, you sure you can see that, man? That big thing there. Oh, hey, there's the bed again. I must have that set, so it's kind of looking on. It's actually the bed there. So anyway, well, it has been a pleasure to have yous on. Audrey, you are. Let me just put you on the screen share there. We can find you at Real Foods Come Dirty.
No, Real Food Comes Dirty. Yes.
Yes. 914. Look at that, 914.
Yeah, no. Oh, and today is my
subscribing.
90 day. Today's my 90-day anniversary on YouTube.
Right, is it? 90 days?
Yes, 3 months.
Man, that's just
I
flown
know.
over. Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Because it was like we were badgering on here about getting the channel up.
I know.
Yeah.
Man.
I know. It's crazy. Thankful and crazy, but you guys have all helped, so thank you so much.
No, we'll pop over there to Audrey's and get her up to 1,000. That would be fantastic. JB, we have got you there. I'm just having a little look there at your side there. 5,300. If you want to go over there naturally, JB. He doesn't grow that much and he doesn't post that much, but it's. I'm sure you'll get back into the swing of things. Just best wishes to your dad, JB. It's
Thank you very much.
Yes, it seems like hopefully going in the right direction. That's fantastic. So, and I've just noticed. Look at the old boy there. He's reaching for the stars. Reaching for the stars there. How's the grapevine going, Stephen? Now we're getting some.
It's gorgeous.
Well, it looks bloody amazing, to be honest.
It does. I mean, you might remember last year I had 3 branches on that vine going right the way the full length of the tunnel, and I cut the lower one off because I just thought it's too much for the roots to cope with. So I've cut the bottom one off, and it's responded now, as you can see there. It's bonkers, and I'm actually having to prune whole bunches of grapes out and throw them away. I've got that many on. It's amazing.
Well,
So
I
I'm
watched
looking forward to a good harvest.
I watched that video, Stephen. I kind of mentioned it on just me and you there. I love that little thing there. That would make me click on and watch, where it's just like tips and clips, like little, bang, 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 bang. It's a great idea. So good luck with that as well. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to do that a lot now. I think it's a great idea.
No, it definitely is.
Nice.
Well, thank you very much. Like I say, we're not here next week. We're going to have a little break. You know what I mean? Kind of.
We're all in Tony's garden.
Yes, kind of. Just checking how good the veg is.
Let me know how you guys do over there.
And we will see you hopefully in the following week, and we'll talk about things, and we'll see. Hopefully, JB's got a couple of videos up there, or at least one video up there. It'd be nice to... Right then, look after yourselves. Take good care. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.